When you're born into a fire, let them burn it out. Sell them to the richest buyer. They wanna let the world decay. They tell us lies and fade away, fade away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. Listen up now, because we're never dropping out. Beat the odds, beat the big house. The brains are bigger than the doubt. We've been thinking for ourselves, never let the truth fade away. This is bigger than ourselves, we won't let the world burn away, burn away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To play, haters face the world's mistakes. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. And we feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To play, haters face the world's mistake. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. What you think about when you're born into a fire? Let them burn it out. Sell them to the richest buyer. They wanna let the world decay. They tell us lies and fade away, fade away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. Listen up now, because we're never dropping out. Beat the odds, beat the big house. The brains are bigger than the doubt. We've been thinking for ourselves, never let the truth fade away. This is bigger than ourselves, we won't let the world burn away, burn away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To play, haters face the
Hello, friends. Welcome to our Thursday night hangout here at Making an Impact. I am the foe, Cody Defoe. Right beside me, as always, the amazing natural Astrid Pizarro. How are you today, Astrid?
I don't know how to answer that. It's been a long day, and I don't know if Impact helped me too much in that, unfortunately. But we'll talk about that as we go on. How about you?
It's been a fairly long day here as well, but making it through. I didn't have any major issues with the show. I don't think. Looking forward to talking about it and getting ready for tomorrow night's Under Siege, which hopefully will end the week on a high note.
It'll be start of the week for me, or the weekend for me. um, but I want to say, Bobby. I was listening to his interview today with Joshua. So if you haven't checked it out, go on Bobby's Twitter. He did have his first interview. I would say I forgot about that detail. It was really well done. And my tag team partner from Tuesdays, Ed. How are you, Ed? Nice to have you in the chat here with us.
OLED dropping in off the screen as we like. Lots to get into, lots to talk about, and to look forward to for tomorrow night. So let's dive into BTI, Astrid. I understand you were pretty happy with the Death Machine being on BTI this week.
Yeah, I was like, you know how lately it's been like one of those matches, like it's been okay. So I was not expecting much, and then as I was Callihan, I was like, "You got my attention now. Let's do this." But no, I feel like the only thing is like I feel like the match was not anything like special, anything like that, like anything that I could highlight per se. But it was a Sami Callihan match. I was entertained. I enjoyed it, and I didn't mind seeing him on a match like by himself the way he was in this particular match.
Yeah, I thought it was a really fun opener. He was taking on Shogun, who we've seen a few times on for the Impact now. Talking talking about Shogun, Barry, nice to see you dropping in. You know, he's still getting there. I think he's still fresh. He's one of the winners of Impact's kind of uh, challenge competition that they've run. I'm blanking right now on the name of the challenge, but um, we've seen him kind of working with Jack Price and tag teams. This is kind of one of the first opportunities we've really had to see him go it on his own. Personally, I feel like he's starting to grow on me a little bit. I don't know about you, Astrid. I feel like this match kind of showed me a little bit more of his personality, a little bit more of
Mm-hmm.
a little bit of a flash of what he might be capable of down the road. Had me thinking that he could grow to be someone that maybe would replace like a Rhino or even a Willie Mack on the roster as that kind of impactful style of competitor down the road in the future. Obviously not right away, but somewhere if he can grow and build on what he has for raw skills at least.
Yeah, I had to look it up. He was the winner of the 2020 Gut Check. That's what it was. I
Oh, the
was thinking
gotcha.
British Boot Camp, and I was like, that's the one I remember. I don't know. I couldn't remember the second one, but that's the one. No, yeah, I feel like there was more of a personality to like the character in itself this time around. I feel like I saw a little bit more this time with Sami, so that's why I'm glad he was teaming with Sami in this match more than anything. 'Cause I feel like it definitely helped like showcase him a little bit more than what we got before, which is the most important part about this.
Yeah, that's ultimately the role that BTI should be playing here is giving us an opportunity to get to know, get familiar with some of these guys who don't get regular screen time. Your Shoguns, your Jack Prices, obviously Hotch and Skyler work their way there. Singh and Shira have been, running the BTI show for quite some time now and are finally getting a little bit more main screen time throughout the main show. So nice to see some other guys getting an opportunity on there now as well.
I feel like he's trying to be. Is it Falaba? I don't know how to read that. Sorry.
Falaba. He's not quite the size of a Falaba. I think maybe he could.
Yeah.
I see where you're going with that, Barry. As kind of the funny big guy, but
Mhm.
definitely there's something there. I can see why he won the gut check. He's still unpolished and needs some work, but hopefully that's something that getting a little bit more time with some bigger names like a Callihan will give him the chance to grow and improve.
Yeah, I feel like it definitely helps to have somebody like Sammy here, being the one with the experience to like kind of got him through those type of moments of helping grow in the sense, and that's why I'm glad this was the type of match to like help him grow more than anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Uh, we go into the main show. We get our typical recaps of some of the stuff that happened last week with the Macklin attack on PCO, with the number one contenders match and the feud budding between Eddie Edwards and Frankie Kazarian. That kind of stuff going down last week. And then we jumped into what I believe was probably match of the week as far as televised wrestling goes. This one, my first thought on it was it's an interesting match with Sabin on his way to an X Division title match, but Speedball doing amazing at what he's doing right now. Felt like it was kind of a situation where you didn't want to see either one of these guys taking a loss, and they didn't disappoint. It was a hell of a match. They ran for a good 15-20 minutes, I think. They killed it. They killed the spots. They had me on the edge of my seat. It reminded me a lot of kind of a shortened version of when we got Speedball and Josh Alexander, and this is a match I would love to see again.
Yeah, I just kept thinking, it's like, how could you put yourself in this pickle? Like, how do you pick to the winner of this match? That was my first thought when I saw it. But yeah, these two, I think they absolutely killed it. I was more than anything surprised it was the opener, because I expected this to be more like higher up in the card towards the end. But I don't mind it being an opener. I don't, with the the speed and the showcasing that we got from both of them. I feel like it was a good way to like get my attention right from the get go to start the show. And these two, I'm like we always joke, it's like Speedball doesn't have a gimmick, like he's just a good wrestler. That's what we see from him every single time on a weekly basis whenever he's on Impact. So it didn't disappoint in any way, shape, or form. I couldn't keep up with him, to be honest, to like say anything specific that happened in the match. But yeah, I feel like they had great chemistry, so I wouldn't mind seeing this match again, because I feel like even though I loved it, I ended up wanting more from them.
Yeah, I did take a couple extra notes. I felt like at points in this match, it kind of looked like Bailey was trying to wrestle with a little bit more of an edge to himself, that he wasn't his typical kind of easygoing self. It really seemed like he was a little bit more gritty and almost like he was leaning a little bit more to trying to be on that, other side of the line, with Sabin being the babyface going into the title match, that Bailey was trying to kind of inch closer to riding that fence. But it didn't really work because the Chicago crowd felt like they were 100% behind Speedball in this one. I don't recall any really loud chants getting going for Sabin at all. But ultimately, Sabin does get it done. Personally, I feel like Chris Sabin needed to channel his inner Macklin for this one and just call the match early, because he put way too much out there for the night before a pay-per-view that, this is one where they'll probably look tomorrow night at being, he put himself through a war with Speedball tonight. Now he's got to come back in 24 hours and try and win the title.
I don't think so. I think I don't know if it was this match or they actually mentioned it, or if it was towards the end. It's like, we don't realize that, they have the pay-per-view tomorrow. Like, they had kind of to slow down in a way, because we don't know how it's going to affect them the next day with the matches. So I think this is interesting, because it could kind of maybe play out to the story of like maybe Trey wins, because Sabin's like, I went all out with Speedball, so I wasn't like 100% when I went with Trey. So there's something that could kind of play off on that end.
Yeah, it's definitely something that could lead to a little bit of a longer feud here between Sabin and Miguel, which I wouldn't complain about. I feel like, putting those two in a match now tomorrow night, it'll probably end up being a match that contends for match of the night, and one that I'd be happy to play back again later down the line.
Oh, for sure.
Once we got done that match, we got a video package from Trinity kind of recapping the last couple weeks. What did you take away from this video package, Astrid?
I like more than anything the way she fires back at Giselle. She's like, "You're the quintessential diva," and he's like, "For me, you're like drama queen, and you're bringing like a boy to handle your business," which is goes back to like, it reminds me of like what we mentioned before about the timing of how it took long for him to react and do the slap, and the way he was holding himself for quite a bit before he actually did it. And even like the promo itself, I feel like his mic work was not great during this. I mean, not that he had a lot to work with, because there's not much for him to say to begin with, but I feel like he could have done better in this part of it. But yeah, I just love seeing this so far. I'm looking forward to it. Made me excited thinking of like how we have his and Giselle wrestling in quite a few weeks, so that will be interesting to see how it plays off on screen, versus Trinity has been a little bit more active now since she returned.
Yeah, she also kind of touched a lot on how she came back. She was just happy to get back in the ring and to get out there and, explain herself. Didn't expect to be interrupted in her talk, but got interrupted by both Deanna and Jordynne and kind of thrown right into the fire. Jumped in, got her first match against Callihan, and now gets her first, Premier Live event with Giselle Shaw. She really, that first show kind of felt slow. It felt like, I'm here. I'm just going to tell you why it took me a year to show up, why I chose Impact, what my plans are now that I'm here. And then bang, all of a sudden the switch turned and it's just people coming at her from all angles. You don't just walk in and get a title shot. People are going to start coming and gunning for you as soon as you walked in that door and declared your shot.
Yeah, and I love seeing how we already have something going on with her, and we don't know if she's going to go to the title match right away after this feud with Giselle, or is she going to go towards somebody else and work her way up the way kind of like we got with Mickey James before. So I think it'll be interesting to see after Under Siege is over which direction they take her on.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a commercial break, and then we got another video package, this time from the world champion, Steve Macklin. Kind of a package showing the last couple weeks in the lead up and the PCO beatdown from last week. And then we get Steve kind of on camera talking about how everything in this video package, it's just to this point has been wasted motion. That it proves that PCO isn't qualified to be his opponent and won't be his opponent at tomorrow's Under Siege. He's going to head to the ring later tonight to declare who his challenger for tomorrow night will be. It was a neat way to play this off, the attack and the beatdown and the assault last week. Macklin should know better that he didn't double tap last week, so he should have known better than to assume the monster was dead, but this is typical horror story, right? The villain always comes back in the end.
Yeah, it was like you gotta, hit them at the head. If not, they always come back somehow. I love that part of like he thinks just like I feel like I kept thinking, you think that little beatdown on PCO is gonna do something to him? Good luck with that one. Then I thought it was just funny when you think about it from his aspect. It's like he thought that was it. No.
I watched Jonah put PCO through like 4 tsunamis to the point that he was coughing up blood and he still came back the next week. You think just taking him out backstage is going to do something?
I don't think so.
We got our next in-ring action with a tag team match. We have Kenny King, King, teaming with Sheldon Jean to take on the Decay. A little bit of a surprise at the start here that the national treasure, Nick Aldis, decides to make his way down, joining commentary for the match. Pretty standard tag team match here, I think.
I had to, sorry, Ed. Macklin's first favorite challenge is PCO. Still can't believe that. Yeah, neither can I.
It's got to take out a Canadian.
I guess.
Pretty standard tag match between Kenny King and Sheldon Jean versus the Decay here. Nothing really jumped off the page. Commentary spent a lot of time just talking about Nick Aldis and his feud with Kenny King. The one thing that did kind of jump out to me is Aldis talking about, actually, I think this was after the match when they had a little bit of a back and forth on the mic. Kenny talking about how Aldis has to work his way up to the King, and Nick Aldis is like, no, if anything, you need to work your way up to the national treasure. I already took out your lackey last week. Now I'm going to, slowly and dramatically unbutton my jacket and come in there and show you both. I like how he kind of teased the slow and dramatic unbuttoning, calling that out. But the match itself, I mean, Decay is always a good hand in the ring. They always put on, entertaining stuff, but it really just felt like this was the setup to kind of get us hyped for the official showdown between King and Aldis.
As says King. I love seeing Kenny King on my computer screen. What I thought about this is just more than anything. I thought at first it was a one-on-one match, and Sheldon was just accompanying Kenny to the ring. And when they announced that they were teaming, I was like, I like this because it just furthers that story of like him being that protege to Kenny now. And it'll be interesting to I feel like finally now he has some kind of direction with somebody in here in Empire, which I like. I just want to see how it goes further on. But it just made me think of at least we'll get a sort of something that's actually a good foundation for Kenny King to be here on a weekly basis, and to have Sheldon show on screen some kind of growth as he's actually teaming and learning from Kenny King. I think both storylines going on at the same time is interesting to watch as well. So that's why I'm glad this is more than anything what I got from this match.
Yeah, I did enjoy commentary too, just kind of talking that part of it up. That like, what is Kenny King's angle with Sheldon Jean? Is he actually trying to take him under his wing? Is he just using him as like cannon fodder? Is he someone that's just there to be in his corner and take a beating on his behalf, or is King actually doing the honorable thing and taking a kid to higher heights?
Gotta wait and see.
Yeah. I'll get my notes back up here. We went backstage to Jessicka, still standing at the door, still watching her hourglass.
Waiting too long.
Like sands through an hourglass. The sand is almost out. It's been going for like 3 weeks now, but it's almost out. But she can't stay long enough to wait for it to finish because she needs to get to the ring for her match against Taylor Wilde coming up next. Which Astrid, I want to hear it from you. This match. I expect you were not a fan of this match.
What match? No, no, the only thing I will defend Impact with this match and the one we got later on though. Oh gosh. Sands through the hourglass. He said the days of our lives. Gotta love the trash American soap operas.
Trademarks, Ed. Trademarks. That's why I stopped myself.
I was gonna say taking it 3 weeks for that. Oh geez. But no, I'm usually the one that always says, I prefer my knockouts matches and my women's matches and overall to have decent time. I don't like this like 5-minute matches or less. The only thing I would defend Impact with is that both of the matches that we got tonight for the knockouts made sense for them ending the way they did and how quickly they went. I just would have preferred if it had been one last week and one this week rather than 2 short matches in one episode, because it feels like we barely got anything from the knockouts, in ring action. So I would defend them like I understand, for example, storyline wise with this match, Jessicka is not concentrated. She's still wondering about Rosemary. Do I go in? Do I let her, I wait for her? The hourglass is running out. So she's not concentrated. You can see even by her entrance, like her, her mind is not in the place for the match itself. So it does make sense for her to lose as quickly as she did. I did not expect it. And I saw like the pin and the 1, 2, 3, and I was like, wait, what happened? I had to go back and rewind a couple of seconds to realize that the match had ended that quickly. But yeah, I think it made sense for the storyline. I'm disappointed it had to happen in that short of a match though. But yeah, overall it makes sense to me and I understand why it happened.
Yeah, ultimately it was storyline development. I agree with you there. It definitely sucks to have it be as short as it did, but it really advanced the story. And it wasn't entirely a short segment. It was short from bell to bell, but it did play out longer. Obviously, Jessicka takes the loss here. She comes out easily distracted already. Her mind's still in the back on what's going on with Rosemary. She quickly gets distracted by Callihan King, which allows Taylor to take advantage, hit her witch's brew, which is whatever she's calling it, the finishing move, and a quick pin. But during the post-match beatdown, while Callihan and Taylor are double teaming Jessicka, we cut to the back where the hourglass is officially run out. The door opens. We see a pair of bright blue Converse Chuck Taylor's sneakers come through the door, click their heels, and take off. And then the music hits, and we get Courtney Rush rushing down, if you will, to make the save for Jessicka, chase the coven away. Clearly, this is Rosemary, but it's not. Even Jessica's confused at first, and I like how Courtney kind of takes that look at her and is like, look at my eyes. Look into my eyes.
Yeah.
We didn't see this coming at all, Astrid. We were convinced Jessicka was going to become Havoc again. We did not at all have anything.
We didn't think about it the other way around, though.
Of Rosemary becoming something more like Jessicka as opposed to Jessicka returning to be like Rosemary. Rosemary's been Rosemary for 7 years now. It's nice to see a change for her character-wise, but it definitely took me by surprise. As soon as the Converse came out, I knew, or I had a pretty solid idea what had just transpired before the music hit and came down to the ring, but it still took me by surprise to see the way this story played out in the end.
Yeah, and another thing I wanted to point out too, I will always say I'm glad the Taylor Wilde match was a short match too because it's a Taylor Wilde match. That's another aspect to it, but that's a different story. But no, I had never seen Rosemary as corny. So when I saw the shoes, I was like, I wonder who this is. I wonder what happened, like what kind of transformation we got, and just seeing it play out the way they did. I I was just mostly surprised. I love like showing them like that connection of like it's still me kind of thing. So um I overall I enjoyed it. I like how they kind of give us that connection between both of them. And even backstage when she's like, I'm not supposed to be here, is she supposed to be here, like what happened, and like the back and forth they have with each other. And even she's like, do you want to be at death on? I was like, well, I mean, I guess it was like, if she says no, what happens then? But she's like, yeah, sure. And I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting now. But I had never seen her like this, so I am like excited to see how it is on screen with her and Jessicka for the next match. I'm just like more than anything like excited like for what happens moving forward between them, because I, like you said, it was nothing that I expected. I expected more like that Jessicka change. I did not expect this kind of change, to be honest.
Yeah. For those that don't know, Courtney Rush is actually a past character of Rosemary's. She was Courtney Rush in her time in Shimmer and before coming to Impact. So obviously this is her kind of coming full circle back to who she was. I love how they kind of explained it in character and in story, where Jessica's confused on who Courtney is and if she's Rosemary. And Courtney basically says, I am Rosemary, or at least Rosemary's been kind of possessing my body for the last 7 years, and basically just kind of rounds it up as mutual possession and such. And like you said, she's not sure why she's here since Rosemary's supposed to be here, but since she is, it means there's an adventure to go on. Which, Bilbo Baggins, anyone? We're going on an adventure.
Jeez. Yeah, I'm just excited though. I feel like it's something, like you said, I did not predict it or expect it in any way, shape, or form. So I'm just open to the idea of like what happens next between them in this storyline, and to see how, like I said, I'm used to seeing Rosemary, so I think it'll be interesting for me to see Courtney Rush on screen and how different she is from the Rosemary character. Like I'm excited to see the differences and how well she does, with the character in itself.
Yeah. Kind of wish this had happened a month ago and that I would have actually got to see her as Courtney Rush in person as opposed to Rosemary. But really cool, I guess, that I got to see Rosemary in kind of one of her last appearances as the character for the time being. Excited to see where it goes. Excited to see how she plays this character with Jessicka. And as we got confirmed later in the night, we get the Death Dolls, the new Death Dolls, are going to get to come around full circle and take on the Coven for the Knockouts tag titles at tomorrow night's Under Siege. So we'll get to our predictions on that a little later when we get into our predictions. But this story has kind of made its round now, at least.
Yeah.
We go back to the ring after we have that, and we have Angels taking on Rich Swann in kind of a tease of tomorrow night's Design versus Callihan, Swann, and a person. Another fun X Division match here. This one didn't get the time that Speedball and Sabin got, but it still was a lot of fun to see these guys. I believe it was a first-time matchup, if I recall correctly, them talking about that.
Yeah,
I don't think Angels and Swann have ever met before. And really, it was, again, just a setup for tomorrow's, but they still put a lot into it. They still built the story into it. You had Callihan at ringside along with Deaner Kon. So a lot of the shenanigans going on out there. Angels has Swann in a position for the win. Deaner yelling at him to finish him. And Angels can't get the job done. And Swann manages to complete it with the 450. But then you have the Design come in, beat down Swann. Sami tries to make the save with the bat. Ultimately, the numbers are still too much, and we leave on Swann and Callihan beat down and the 3 Design members standing tall. And the lingering question of who is a person.
Yep. This match is one that, like earlier, I feel like there was something that really like stood out to me. But it just, you can see the numbers play off in here with the distraction and the beatdown towards the end as well. and like leaving you with that question was like, who's gonna be that person? I really thought they were gonna have that person like come out and end up helping Callihan and Swann to like ended up like a high note of like, oh, this is who it is, surprise. I just didn't expect to like not get any sort of reveal, which I thought was interesting because I for the go home show you can expect that person to be revealed at least in that segment or in some way, shape, or form. But the only thing I don't know if I'm excited or like scared of like I don't know who it is. I don't know who it could be either. So that's the part that I'm wondering how it'll play off with the teams. But yeah, I feel like the match itself it wasn't a bad match. I just had nothing else that like really like stood out or that I could highlight. But I liked having Swann win it more than anything. But I wonder how that will play off towards the match tomorrow.
I will say that I'm happy that they didn't choose to do the reveal tonight. I've been kind of a knock on Impact for a little while about that, how a lot of the time this stuff gets leaked early, whether it's because of tapings and people get it out into the information, or they just decide to have it happen on the taping so that the surprise isn't really a surprise. Hopefully nothing comes out in the next 24 hours before we get to Under Siege, leaking whoever is the surprise that's going to be at the show. Maybe it's somebody already on the roster that won't be as noticeable if they show up at the arena, that somebody can pinpoint and be like, oh, this person's in London tonight. We know who it's going to be. Hopefully it's either kept a secret in one way or the other, or it's somebody from the roster who we're just not thinking of. But I love the aspect of the surprise. I've always been a believer that a surprise is so much better when you don't know it's coming. And as much as we live in a world of, leaks and like easily accessible information, and that it almost makes it feel even bigger when a leak and the information like this doesn't make it out before the show itself. It makes you want to tune in to find out who it is. Makes you want to buy the pay-per-view tomorrow night to be like, oh my God, who could it be? Could it be somebody from OVE? Could it be somebody that you and I mentioned last week? Could it be a big name coming from another company that maybe is just on loan, or somebody whose contract ran out somewhere else that is coming to make a statement in an Impact size company?
Make an impact?
Yeah.
I'm mostly just like surprised that we didn't get the review, because you cannot, most of the time when you have shows like this, especially when it's that go home show, you expect that surprise to be revealed. I was mostly surprised it didn't happen. I was expecting that run in for the save, and I was just surprised it didn't happen. I was like, oh, they're really keeping it on the wraps. Interesting.
I hope it means it's something big. I really do. I hope it means it's something big that's really going to make us happy tomorrow to see it happen.
Barry, the person will likely be a massive disappointment, but it's Impact used to that, so okay. A moment of silence for that comment.
I mean, hopefully, whatever it is tomorrow, it's something.
Great. Something.
We get a backstage interview with Gia Miller and Deanna, similar to Gia's interview with Jordynne from last week. This time, asking how Deanna's doing, how she feels about the situation and getting taken out by Jordynne in their tag match a couple weeks ago. Jordynne says, I saw the footage. I'm giving Jordynne the benefit of the doubt. It seemed like it was, an honest mistake. It was an accident. I don't think she did it on purpose. And for whatever reason, Alisha Edwards is just standing by for Gia Miller's interviews right now and swings her face in and starts stirring the pot. How do you know that you can give her the benefit of the doubt? I think there's more going on here than you expect. Eddie's been saying it for years that there's people back here who are all backstabbers. Why is Alisha here? I'm still trying to figure that one out. And more than anything, Alisha's presence here makes me question, can Jordynne and Deanna not tell this story themselves? They need Alisha here to stir up some drama in their story because they're not capable of doing, like, this Jordynne and Deanna story coming out of Rebellion leading up to Under Siege. They've had Alisha tied up in it. They've had the Coven tied up in it. They had to interrupt the Trinity segment to build to their story. Why are they not able to just build this story themselves? Why do they have to have everybody else tied up in their story?
You had to go, Barry. I swear the TV at that point. I don't blame you. When she came on screen, I just kept thinking, Why? Why are you here? First of all, it's like first you did it with Jordynne, now with Deanna. Again, why? Because we know Alicia's not gonna go towards the title anytime soon. Probably never anyway. But so I'm like, why are you really here? And like you said, I keep thinking of like we had so many people, like so many like layers to this that I feel we barely had an interaction between Jordynne and Deanna, just them. Because whenever we get something, like you said, the comment came up, and then we had the Trinity interruption. So we never really had them. The only time we really had them like alone was in the tag team match, and then I feel like that was like short lived because the match itself doesn't last too long. So I feel like we never had them like really go back and forth with each other one on one, whether it's on the mic or like a backstage interview, even just like a preview of the match somehow. The only one we got was that, them teaming, and that's it. And it's like I wondered why it had to be like instead of going back and forth between Diana and Jordynne, they have to go back and forth with Trinity. It's like Trinity's not gonna get. I know we're teasing this, but Trinity's probably not gonna get involved into after the Giselle feud, or probably who knows, maybe sometime after that. So it's probably not. You don't know if it's gonna happen anytime soon. But and then we get the storyline of like, oh, the Diana injuries. So it's like, okay, so why is this happening now? Why are you trying to do that when we have this is the last show before the pay-per-view? I I was very confused about that aspect, and I honestly forgot that Alisha and Jordynne was happening. So when I see Alisha in her gear, I was like, "Who are you wrestling tonight?" Because I'm afraid now.
I mean, hopefully you
Okay.
didn't blink a little bit later. You might have missed it.
I think I did almost. I had to rewind it too. So yeah,
uh,
it didn't help.
Interestingly, coming out of the next commercial break, we come back from commercial and immediately are running backstage and find Masha Slamovich and Killer Kelly brawling it out through the arena kitchen. We haven't really heard anything from either of these women since their match a couple weeks ago. And now here they are beating each other down through the kitchens, throwing each other around the building, ultimately ending up with Slamovich choking out Kelly using an electrical cord that she finds on the ground near an emergency exit. It felt a little anticlimactic with the choke out at the end. I kind of hoped it was a pull apart brawl where, one of them would get dragged away or hauled off or, something like that. It was something. It continues the story. It just felt like it was a little lacking in what I would have liked to have seen. All I can say after seeing this and after seeing that match a couple weeks ago, please tell me this leads to a Monsters Ball.
This is Ed. I'm always glad when when I miss Alisha on my TV. Well, I was hoping I would miss her, but I didn't. And then this is very true though. The kitchen isn't as dangerous as the NXT parking lot, but it works. Yeah, this is one that I kind of expected some kind of graphic going, oh, it's got the more kind of a fruitless match and we're gonna get them next week. Something like that. To like tell me like this is something that will get a continuation towards. I would not mind a Monsters, but I feel like that would be pretty cool to have between the ladies, though. That's not a bad idea. And then going to Barry, Ed, how dare you? Alicia's my favorite. Of who? Not mine. I don't think it's Cody's either. So I hope it's not you, Barry, because I will judge you on that one.
I feel like Barry's being a little bit.
He's being a little sassy. Yeah.
Yeah. No. I think these two, having them in the hardcore war with the Bully and Dreamer match, having them in their match, having them in brawl now, I think the natural progression for this is something that leads to a Monsters Ball. I think these two ladies are built for the situation of a Monsters Ball. They both love the carnage, the violence, fulfilling pain. They both love dealing out pain and dealing it to each other. And I think this is something that just feels right.
Trust me, I had to watch much too much Alisha. I didn't defend the shows. I do not envy you on that end, Ed. I'll let you know right now. So there it is.
Speaking of apparently Barry's favorite Alisha, or at least she's trying to be in action. Ultimately, she just gets toyed with a little bit, takes a Grace driver, and is finished even faster than Wilde beat Jessicka.
I did wonder which one was faster though, because I'm curious about that end of it. So I know cage match is not 100%, but I'll probably be checking there just so I can compare them. But again, this is another one that I was not mad of like how short the match was because it makes sense with the storyline. We don't get Alisha in the ring often. we have Jordynne with the match coming up, so it makes sense for Jordynne to win it, and win it as fast as she did. I'm not mad at it, to be honest. Um, and again, Alicia's one of those. The least amount of matches I see her in, the better it is. So I was like, giving me a short match with Alisha, and it works out. Again, it just feels like it made sense for the storyline. I get why it was a short match. And just like I said earlier, overall, I just felt disappointed that the two knockouts matches that we got tonight were too short, and that's all we got from the ladies tonight in that aspect.
Yeah, it was 2 short matches. Ultimately, it was storyline progression. We got the backstage segment with Deanna. We got the video package for Trinity. We got the backstage segment with Masha and Kelly. So it at least had a fair contingent of women on the show. And I guess the one silver lining we have to look forward to is we get 3 women's matches on the pay-per-view tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Why, Dango, why? That's where we went next. This was a really well done, interesting cut of Dango explaining his actions, I felt. I'm just going to lead off and say that I really, really enjoyed this. I enjoyed this angle of Dango. It felt like there was enough of Dango's kind of comedy and humor just kind of leaking through in the edits and the cuts that they did between takes. Where you could still see he was Dango and he was doing this, like cutting a serious promo, even though he still is the same Dango. He had some great lines in here, though.
Yeah.
He talked about how he grew up in the Attitude Era, and it feels like everyone in that dressing room now is living in the Gratitude Era. He says they're just happy to take pictures with their opponent after the match. The boys in the back are now more concerned about social media likes than the live crowd reaction. This all hit really hard because it feels accurate. It feels like, I don't know if Dango is the right person to be in the position to tell this story, but I love the fact that they're going with this character and with this angle with him. I feel like this is a huge positive for Dango as a person, as a performer, as a wrestler, to get to take a serious turn here. They asked him about attacking Santino. All I picked up and caught from that was when he was in the ring with Santino and he pulled out the Cobra, and it was so 2010. And then he talks about Hendry, and he thinks it's a mockery that Hendry has a toy belt, and he's going to make a mockery of him and take it from him.
Yeah, I feel like more than what I felt with him. I feel like this would have made more sense from somebody a little bit older than Dango, if that makes sense. Somebody that didn't really grow up in a social media kind of world. I feel with Dango, he's one of those people, like, he fed off of social media with the with the dance and everything in WWE. So I feel like in that end, I feel like would have made more sense. But like you said, I do agree, and I liked how he delivered his lines on this and how he sounded like the character sounded more than anything of like, oh, people are concerned with the social media, which, if you think about it, connects back to Joe Henry being the digital media champion. And thinking, can you imagine the guy that doesn't like social media being the digital media champion? Like, that would be like ironic. So I feel like if you think about it, like, that's the connection that I made with it. And I like the part of like, oh, I attacked him because it's 2010 and he's playing the same character all over again. And Joe is a stooge. And like all these answers were like really well done. It wasn't like, it was something that makes sense storyline wise. And I was like, not bad. I was like, and I like the production about it, of like having the like the titles like why Dango, why, and like the little like kind of like chapters to it. Basically, they titled it before he continued to talk, and I like how it was divided in the video package there. But yeah, I feel like it just made it make sense for somebody like a little bit older that wasn't living or doesn't like social media, versus somebody like with Dango that has been in social media before. And like you said, that part of when he says like, oh, the guys now are just like more than anything checking about, their social media and their likes, and that's their concern now. And then that isn't the concern that, the wrestlers had before. But overall, just like, I feel like this alone just sold me on the match, thinking, can you imagine Dango not liking social media, but being the digital media champion? What? It's just one of those, like, that's what I thought about. So I thought it was pretty interesting. I want to see some kind of video packages like this moving forward from him. If his character decides to keep going in this way with the storyline. And as Barry says here, plenty of wrestlers try this type of character, and it's slightly embarrassing to watch. But Dango made it feel real. Yeah, I feel like more genuine coming from him. That's how like the vibe that I got from his comments. Dango has always in his t-shirts. How much bitter and angry can you get? Damn it! I don't blame you there.
I will say for Dango, like he's older than you are. He's reaching that cusp. He's like an elder millennial at this point, kind of borderline almost to the Gen X. So it does work for him, like age wise. I think what makes it a little bit harder to get fully behind it is, like you said, the fact that as Fandango, as Breezango with Tyler Breeze, he really kind of made his career on the social media and like YouTube skits and the fashion files and stuff like that. That coming back around, you can almost, I guess, take it that he did that stuff because it's what he needed to do. But now he's kind of older and more bitter and angry at the fact, I had to play something that I grew up watching the Attitude Era, and I had to play into this social media era. And now I'm watching everybody else just being happy with their social media likes and not a crowd reaction. And I want the crowd reaction. I came into this. He's like, if I was a 15-year-old now, I never would have wanted to become a wrestler. And I feel like that's relatable as a wrestling fan, and being a wrestling fan for as long as I've been. And I'm sure you can kind of feel the same way, having been fans for most of our lives. If we were watching nowadays, wrestling isn't considered as cool with students in school and stuff anymore. It's really hard to find the wrestling communities in different towns around the world.
I feel like that's something that I struggle with more than anything growing up, because it was more like, why are you a girl like in wrestling? That was always the first thing. And the second thing was always like wrestling is fake, versus now, even though people do say it, I feel like they do bring it up, but like the fact that you end up meeting people that do like wrestling. And that happened to be at work not too long ago. I have one of the like new managers that came in probably less than a month ago, and I don't know how he came into the office and all he says like, yeah, I was staying up watching wrestling. And I was like, here comes another one. And I had like let people here and there that I told them about it, and like doing what I do here, in for wrestling media. And most of them have like think, oh, that's cool. Like I don't get like mocked in any way for doing it. So I think it's interesting because when I was younger, I would have made fun of for actually liking wrestling, just liking it and not doing anything else about it. But I thought also was interesting with like the points of like he mentioned not only the social media but the crowd reaction, because if you think about it, that's Joe Henry. He gets the crowd reaction, and he's the one in social media, like the digital media champion. So I thought it was interesting that those points do go back to Joe Henry and Henry's character as a whole, and impetency has arrived. But yeah, overall, I enjoyed this a lot. I hope we get something like this moving forward for Nango.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the match tomorrow there as well. We got a quick video package just kind of setting up for the number one contenders match after the tag match last week. We didn't really get to see or talk to or hear from anybody else in that match. Everybody got a quick one-liner in this video package, just telling their story. Moose, as the most respected world champion last year. Eddie talking about where he's come from and how he wants to get there. Kaz talking about how he came back and wants to be a champion. Alex Shelley talking about how he's never been world champion and wants to win it. Yuya talking about wanting to, make the Impact World Championship more worldwide and more internationally known. There's lots of different storylines coming out of this, but nothing really that jumped off the page as noteworthy per se.
Nope, nothing.
We get the setup for Skyler versus Chris Bay. Good Hands not getting an entrance this week was kind of a tip-off as to how this match was going to go, I think. Brian Myers out there again with his Learning Tree 2.0, trying to give them advice and guide them through. The only real thing I have about this match was just how they set up the ending. That it felt like Myers found a winning strategy last week and they tried to go back to it again this week and it fumbled. We get Skyler kind of getting beat down a little bit by Chris Bay. Hotch this week jumps up on the apron to try and distract the ref. They try to go to the same play of pushing Bay into the side of the ropes where Myers is. but Bay's ready for it and takes out Myers before Myers can hit him, lands the Art of Finesse and gets the pinfall. It was quick. It was nothing spectacular, but it felt like there's a story to tell there, that Myers, he's trying to teach these kids how to be something better, but he doesn't have really that history of success too much himself. So he found something that worked, and then he tried to go back to the well a second time, and Ace and Bay are too smart from that. They learned from last week and were prepared for it.
Yeah, and I like that they brought it up. I think it was after the match, if I'm not mistaken, of like Matt said, the fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me, kind of line. And it's like, and he did point that out during the match. He's like, oh, it looks like whatever they thought worked last week, they were gonna try it this week, and it didn't work out. So then Tom told him, you can, they didn't get fooled again. You can think about that part of it. So I like how Myers makes it look like he has like a recipe for success, a recipe, to get all these victories for the team. And just when he thinks he has it and he tries it, it doesn't work the second time around. So it's like, now you got to go back to the drawing board and like think back of like, what would be our next move? Because I feel like it works for a bit with the distraction that they had, then distracting Bay and Austin there. But it didn't work out at the end when it came to the victory, though. I feel like it was short lived. So I like that point of like, we kind of had to find our way as a team with Myers, because it helped last week, but it's not going to help all the time. So we got to find like a new strategy moving forward. And I just, they're the champions. So I was not expecting Bay to lose this match either when it was scheduled. So sorry, that's all I had in my mind when it crossed. I was like, yeah, definitely not losing this match.
Yeah, that was it. Other than the main event segment, I'm gonna hold off on that main event segment for the time being. We're gonna go through our predictions for tomorrow night's show first, and then we'll save the world title picture for after we go through the main event. So let's start right off the top here on the countdown to Under Siege. We get the Knockouts Tag Team title match between Courtney Rush and Jessicka taking on the Coven of Taylor Wilde and Kylan King. Astrid, where are you falling on this one? Do we have the Coven retaining, or do the newly formed Death Dolls take the title?
This reminds me of the joke that my brother makes of like whenever you have like a new character, or whenever you are like a debut, quote unquote, as we have with our Courtney Rush here, you end up winning a championship. So I wonder if that's something that's going to happen here, because I feel like that will make the storyline super interesting. Because I feel like when it was Rosemary, they mostly lost after that loss. When it was like Rosemary teaming up with Jessicka or with Taya. So I think it'll be interesting with Courtney, we get them winning more often. So I would like to see them winning. And at first, I will prefer them winning, so that way we can have them and the Coven going back and forth with the title of like that battle there, because I don't like having the Coven in power for too long. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. The whole story here seems like it's built up to, Courtney Rush coming back in this character. We went full circle with the Death Dolls losing to the Coven, having to work through all the supernatural magic and coming back to it. It definitely feels like we're going that route. So I agree with you there. I do feel like the new Death Dolls will be taking the titles tomorrow night.
And Corey, thank you for stopping by. Hey guys, listening as I write some world building and character building notes. Hope all is well. If you haven't checked that out, Corey writes some really wonderful pieces. So I would check out his Twitter, because I know he writes for a bunch of places. I'm not gonna remember all of them. I know Body Slam is one of them. So you can correct me if I'm wrong, Corey. And Barry here, I predict some sound issues show starting slightly late and a disappointing surprise for tomorrow. But why does it have to be all negative, Barry? Come on, it's the start of a wrestling week and we have a lot going on. Let's start with a high note, please.
Yeah, I agree with Astrid on this one. We're going to start on a high note. We're going to come out. We're going to have a great opening countdown show, and we're going to have a fantastic Under Siege.
There we go.
That said, second match on the countdown show is our Digital Media Championship match between Dirty Dango and Joe Hendry. And I'm very torn on this one, Astrid. I'm very, very torn on this one. I love what Dango's done. I called the heel turn for him well before it happened, but I've always been a supporter of our Digital Media Champion. I have to stay firm on this one. I believe in Joe Hendry.
I feel the same way because I just keep thinking this video package that we got from Dango tonight, it really sold me on this match. Like I said earlier, it just made me think of like that guy that doesn't like social media being digital media champion. Sounds so ironic that I like the idea of it. But I'm like, I don't want Joe to lose it. So I'm really torn. But being that he put that championship on my shoulder, I'm gonna go with the champion, keep it on Joe Henry. So, and the championship is real, Dango. I held it in my hands here.
First match that we have for the main card, Giselle Shaw with potentially Savannah and Jay Vidal in her corner, taking on the newly signed, debuted Trinity. Astrid, where are you feeling this one goes?
I was gonna say we're gonna do it. 1, 2, 3. Trinity. Come on, we're supposed to do it at once. Come on.
I can't go against. No, I can't go against Trinity. It's too soon. As much as I feel like Giselle's been building momentum and shouldn't be taking a loss here, I think I have to go with you there that Trinity is. It would be crazy for her to lose this match this early into her career, especially after already setting up potential programs with Deanna and Jordynne along the line.
Yep, definitely true.
So we're 3 for 3 so far. We're on the same page all the way down the line. Let's see if we fall there on the next one, Astrid. Kenny King versus Nick Aldis.
Oh my word. This is what I don't want to say I'm torn. I feel like I could go either way. That's the kind of match. That's what it feels like for me. I really don't know. I feel like I would like Kenny to win to kind of keep going with how he's going. That foundation that we have with him so far, that stability. But it's like this is the first time we see him on pay-per-view like this in quite a while. So it's like I don't want him to lose right from the get-go. I'm gonna pick Aldis.
I see this match going one of two ways. And I think Sheldon Jean plays a factor either way. Either Sheldon Jean helps Kenny King win, or Sheldon Jean attempts to help Kenny King win and ultimately ends up being the reason Kenny loses. And I think I'm going to go with the latter on this. I'm going to say that Sheldon Jean tries to help and either fails or gets caught or whatever the case may be. But I'm with you. I think Nick Aldis, already having set up a future program with Steve Macklin, I don't foresee him losing his first major match on Impact either. Okay, we got the Design taking on Sami Callihan, Rich Swann, and as the graphic says, a partner. We still don't know who the partner is. We don't have any hints, any leaks, any info to the best of our knowledge as to who the partner is. I don't know that I can vote against a mystery partner having
the power of the mystery partner.
having a debut and not winning in this situation. I still feel like I want Deaner to be on to bigger and better things. I feel like this has to be the end of this Design and Sami Callihan story. I'm torn on it, Astrid. I really am. I'm gonna go with the Design though.
This one is also one that I feel like it could go either way. The only thing I was thinking about it, let me see if I'm correct or not. I don't think I had it. Yeah. So the only thing I was thinking about, that could be it, because I've only seen him once recently, has been that maybe the partner is, as we called him, Fulton or Madman Fulton. That's the person that I could think about being perhaps the partner. And I feel like that would be cool to see. But I don't know who I would pick as a winner. I'm like, it could be like either one. But I feel like it will make more sense for like to keep going with the Sami story, like for Sami to win and have, I said, I picked my partners and we ended up beating the Design and getting rid of them. And I want to see what the Design does to rebuild after this, because I think that storyline will be interesting to see.
All right, we're going to get into the rest of the title matches and the main matches down the line here now. Next up, the tag team title match between ABC, the Ace and Bay Club, taking on Subculture of Flash Morgan Webster, Mark Andrews with Danny Luna in their corner. Astrid, you have a little bit more knowledge of Subculture than I do from the time you've spent covering NXT. How do you feel about this? Do we think it's ABC's time?
No, even with that, I don't get me wrong. I know the match is going to be great, and it's going to be like a great showcase. But I don't see ABC losing, especially with like somebody coming in and kind of like a guest, not somebody that's really going to be staying in the roster. So I definitely don't see. I don't see them losing this.
Yeah, I think we're in agreement there. I remember seeing a little bit of Flash Morgan Webster and Mark Andrews in the inaugural NXT UK Championship tournament, but as good as they are as performers, I don't think Ace and Bay are losing those titles anytime soon.
And if you haven't yet, as Ed is saying, it's the guy that won the British Bootcamp over Alpha and Rampage Brown. I believe they posted that clip this week on, I don't know if it was just on YouTube or like on social media, but they posted that clip and I had never seen it before, so that was interesting. But as Ed says, give me ABC.
Okay. Maybe this one will be the one where we flip the script here, Astrid. I feel like our predictions, we always end up falling on the same page here. We have to flip some of this around. X Division Championship up next. Our number one fan, Trey, taking on the potential nine-time, I'm not doing it 9 times, Chris Sabin.
I will run out of breath before my 9th time. Shoot, I don't want Trey to lose it, but I feel like having Sabin as a champion will be interesting to see. And like him talking about like that respecting and like the defacing of the championship, Sabin here, we will get rid of that. So as much as I like Trey, as much as I like our champion and our favorite viewer and our favorite follower, I don't know what to call him at this point. I will say it's Sabin. So.
I'm not gonna pick against Trey Miguel, and I'm not gonna forget his first or last name. He has 2 names. He is our champion. I'm saying that Trey Miguel, our X Division champion, continues to reign. Whether it's because Sabin's tired from putting all of his effort in on Speedball tonight. Whether it's something where these two have another match down the line, I am saying that Trey Miguel is our winner.
There you go.
Number 1 contenders match up next. Moose versus Eddie Edwards versus Jonathan Gresham versus Yu Uemura versus Alex Shelley versus Frankie Kazarian. We have lots of options to choose from in this one. Lots of different pieces. I think we both kind of hinted the way we were leaning after last week's tag match. Are you feeling any different this week? How do you think this one plays out?
This one, I keep thinking of like we have Macklin as the heel, so it feels like one of the faces should win this match. I'm just between being as a multi-man, I kind of want to pick 2 people just in case, but I'm between Shelley and Gresham, and I feel like I would like to see something with Gresham because it feels like it's more like that baby face that I would agree with Scott D'Amore and be like the complete opposite of Macklin. So I feel like Gresham will be one I would like to see.
I think I've had a change of face from last week. I know I said that Alex Shelley taking the win last week, reverse momentum theory suggests that maybe he doesn't actually end up winning the 6-man. I think the story is just there for Alex Shelley as someone who's never won a world title. Feels like we're building to that. We're playing to that. I don't know that he's actually winning the title down the line from a Macklin. I think there's bigger things in Steve Macklin's future than an Alex Shelley loss. But I think the story is there that it would be a really, really good build towards Alex Shelley and Steve Macklin. I have to go with the machine gun there.
There you go.
Women's, aka Knockouts title match, Deanna versus Jordynne. If Jordynne loses, she cannot get a match for the Knockouts world title again as long as Deanna is champion. This one, I know we knocked on it earlier that the build for it hasn't really been fulfilling. They haven't really had the encounters, the interactions. It's been a mess. You've had a lot of different people playing parts to try and put some kind of story together between these two. I feel like it's a situation where we're just playing this out because Jordynne needs to have that rematch because Jordynne's been so strong and they don't have a better reason to put anybody else against Deanna as long as Jordynne's in the picture. I'm saying Deanna wins this match. whether clean or not, Jordynne can't challenge for the title again. Takes Jordynne out of the picture, allows Deanna to move on to other people.
Yeah, I feel like when you get 90% of these type of stipulations of like so and so wins and the other person can really challenge them as long as they're champion, it makes you feel like 90% of the time becomes true. So that's why I think of like it has to be Deanna, and that way we have Jordynne move on to somebody else, and perhaps we get Deanna versus Trinity next. But I definitely had to pick Deanna going forward.
Perhaps we get Jordynne versus Trinity next.
Yeah, you never know.
Never know. And finally, the world title, which was initially potentially Steve Macklin versus PCO. But before we get confirmation of that, we have Steve Macklin making his entrance to the ring to tell us that he is here to announce to us who his new number one contender will be. He's convinced that their attack on PCO last week has ended PCO, and so he needs a new challenger. And that person is the most promising up-and-comer in Impact Wrestling, a.k.a. Champagne Singh.
Nice try. That's all I can say. Nice try. Even when you told me, when I was like, do you have the graphic for it? And I said, no, you're very funny, though. Nice try. Not on my end.
Singh couldn't even
This
talk.
is what we're getting. This is
Singh
what we're
couldn't
getting.
even talk over the PCO chants in Chicago. He's trying to get out there. He's thanking Macklin for the opportunity and tries to talk about how his long and winding road is culminating in this great chance, and he's going to make the most out of it. He unravels a long scroll of all the people he has to thank. Thank God for Scott D'Amore, because he put a stop to this immediately. And I didn't even catch the first half of what Scott said. I just keyed in when he called him Dime Store Champagne Singh, because it was excellent. Scott tells Macklin that, he needs to stop complaining, come down to the ring, fight, and prove why he's the best wrestler in the world, and fight everyone or anyone on any given night. Macklin tells D'Amore that as long as he is champion, Scott's job title means nothing because Steve is his boss. And when he wins at Under Siege, Scott will come down to strap the title around his waist. Scott agrees to this, and Steve's like, but you haven't even told me who I'm facing tomorrow, or who my new opponent is for tomorrow night. To which Scott finally ends the charade and lets us know that's because there is no new opponent for tomorrow night, because PCO will be there. Cue the lightning. PCO shows up, beats down Singh and Shira as Macklin tucks tail and runs up the ramp. And we finish with PCO standing tall in the ring with the championship.
And as Barry says, Champagne sings on a slightly English in his accent, I thought. I didn't pick up on that, I guess. But yeah.
Champagne Raj Singh.
Nothing overall, like the segment was funny to think about, because I kept thinking, I'm just waiting for PCO to come out, because I know that's what's happening in here. But I like how it goes back to what we have been saying for months when we thought of Steve Macklin versus Josh. You get thinking when Steve becomes champion, he's going to become that person that Scott's going to be like, I don't want you as champion. And then even going back and forth, like when he tells him, when I win, I'm the boss. And the part of like him saying like, you're going to have me the championship when I win. Like, it just so like the complete opposite of what Josh was as champion. So I think it's interesting to see like the two points here. But yeah, other than that, I have Macklin winning. I sorry if PCO.
Yeah, I think that's the easiest match on the card right now, that Macklin 100% is winning this match. PCO being his first feud is an interesting choice. I think it's a good way to show just what Macklin's capable of to, beat down and slay the monster, or at least keep the monster at bay. I did like the subtle little tease in this segment from Scott, though. Talking about how you talk about Josh Alexander and how Macklin's the polar opposite. And when Macklin accuses Scott of not wanting him to be champion, and Scott's like, you want to know who I want to be champion? The best wrestler on the planet. Which I think we're all on the same page that falls under Josh Alexander in most cases. Without actually saying Josh's name, it was a nice little piece there from Scott. before he went into explaining, Macklin can be that best wrestler on the planet if he actually just comes out and wrestles and doesn't try to, shenanigan his way out of matches backstage and politic his way around and that kind of stuff. It's for a match that we all know how it's going to end. I feel like it's been a quality build.
Yeah, I feel like we have got a little bit of everything. Yeah.
I don't feel like they've really fallen short in terms of the Macklin and PCO build overall. I know we would have liked to have seen a little bit more as to how Macklin's relationship with Singh and Shira started, but I think they course corrected and gave us at least a little bit of subtext in that as the story developed and went on. For a one-off feud that should end at Under Siege, I'm okay with the way this has went. I'm okay with it as it's been built, and I'm looking forward to what they do in the ring.
Barry, when Scott threw his glasses away, I really wanted him to start renting at Shira by mistake. Then I feel like the 7 overall was exactly how it should have been. The way of like Steve thinking, oh, because I'm champion, I'm gonna go my own way, and Scott being the boss, being you don't get to pick, this way. It has to be the way I said it, and that's why we're sticking with PCO. And like I said, it gives you so many reasons as to why he's the opposite of Josh, and why we are like that. Why Scott loved Josh as a champion. And I feel like if we keep going in this sort of route, it just adds to that build up later when Josh returns of like, you're exactly what we don't want as champion in the company. I'm the example. Look how I was as champion versus how you are as champion. And I feel like we already have a foundation there for their feud again when he comes back.
Yeah, depending how long he's out, if Macklin's still champion when Josh is ready to make his return, I think it's an easy feud to build to, and it would be a hugely demanded match. I would love for them to be able to get us to that point without it feeling like it's dragging too long. That's it. That's the show for tonight. We've got a loaded card for tomorrow night's Under Siege pay-per-view. We won't be live doing any kind of recap. We'll be back next week where we'll talk about what happened on tomorrow's Under Siege, as well as next week's impact from the fallout from Under Siege, as we are every Thursday. And then Monday, you can catch the replay of today's predictions and everything and our recap from tonight's show. If you missed any of the show, it will be uploaded on Monday onto the Backbreaker Media channel, as it is every Monday if you ever miss our shows. For me, Twitter right here, it's on the screen throughout the show at Cody Defoe. You can give me a follow, shoot me a message, tag me in anything. If you're watching Under Siege tomorrow night, hit me up, throw a comment my way of what you're liking, what you're watching, what you're thinking. Possibly include it in next week's show while I'm talking about it. Anybody that wants to give me some of your feedback on how you're feeling about the show, would love to hear from you while it's going on. Astrid, you're the busier one of the two of us. What have you got going on this week?
Well, now that you ask, no, I'm kidding. I do have my interview for Astrid Ask, episode 14 with Alyssa Marino are going up on the weekend after Night of Champions. I believe I put it for 5 p.m. But before that, I'm going to put a clip to give you all a preview of what the interview will be like.
Everything else has just been little opportunities that have come my way. Like we're for CCW, for Capital Championship Wrestling, getting paired up with Ella J. Like that was such a fun experience that I never really thought that I would ever do, but it just kind of came about because we wanted to get to know more about the talent on the roster. And I had never met Ella before, but we had this really great chemistry, and it led to some really, really awesome kind of exploration of who these people are and getting to know them a little bit better. So things have just kind of like come in succession, but it all really started from just getting in the wrestling world through the school, through Santino Brothers.
Yeah. So the interview will be live Saturday at 5 p.m. For me, aside from me watching Under Siege and probably live tweeting as much as I can about it. Tomorrow night after SmackDown, I'll be with Adam Parrish. We'll be doing a preview and predictions to Night of Champions. And I do have another Champions post show with our local establishment going on. I have a Battleground preview as well with Doc Chris Miller from Bleacher Report. And I also have my Battleground post show because Ed will not be with me. So I had to bring the great Ella J to replace him for one night only. You heard that right, Ed? One night only. So she does a post show with me to Battleground for NXT. And my NXT review does go up on the weekends of Women's Wrestling Talk, specifically on Sundays. and if anything, my Twitter will be there, which is Astrid Pizarro. So yeah, if anything, everything's there on my YouTube channel. You can just subscribe and hit the bell to get notified whenever I upload whatever is making an impact as we go live for an Astrid As episode. Aside from that, I will also say, as I will always check out our local establishments, because we do a lot of work with them as well. So you never know what we have going on over there with them. I know with the busy weekend, they have a lot of content going up. They also have coverage with Bobby and Lauren for Double or Nothing as well. So we definitely have a lot going on. They have a Double or Nothing preview as well. So I would say check out our local establishments, especially on the YouTube side, if you can subscribe to them, and then you'll see what we have going on when we go live with them. But yeah, it'll be an exciting weekend with all the wrestling that we have going on. So I'm just excited more than anything for how it'll be. As Corey says, great show again. Thanks for keeping me in the loop for Impact, as always, sir. But no, I also wanted to double check in. Yeah, I have Miss Dickens that she's live. She's playing. I forgot what it is. Yeah, she's playing a video game. I don't have to see the title, but playing a video game. So I figured I'll give her a raid because she is a great supporter as well. So much coverage from Astrid this weekend. Yeah, I will be a zombie by Monday. I'm glad I'm off from work. But yeah, I want to thank everybody for being in the comments with us tonight. More than anything, for your support. And if you enjoy the show, always tell a friend and subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can see more from us on Thursdays. And yeah, excited to see how Under Siege starts, the weekend of wrestling for me. So that's what I'm looking forward to the most. But yeah, thank you everybody, and then we'll see you next time.
Thanks everyone.